It's a Monday morning, 12 minutes away from 8 o'clock. Good to have you with us here on the South African Morning. It's going to be a busy day in the country's courts. One court case we're following closely is that of the murder trial of Senzo Meyiwa back in the Pretoria High Court. But more than a year after the trial began, it's going to start essentially with a new judge. This after President Cyril Ramaphosa suspended Judge Maumela for delaying several judgments. So let's head over to eNCA senior reporter Silindelo Masikane, who's joining us for the coverage of that. Hello to you, Slee, on the steps of the courthouse as well. So to a layman like me, I imagine essentially the court case just starts from the beginning again.
Well, that's what we're expecting, Gareth, following the news that, of course, we know Judge Maumela isn't well, but also, like you said, has been suspended for some tardiness in terms of his other cases where he has delayed judgment. But besides that, in our last sitting in June, we were informed by the Judge President of the North Gauteng High Court that Judge Maumela's medical team has informed the court that it doesn't seem as though he will be able to continue with presiding over various cases and, of course, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial. We know that in earnest, this particular trial is about 8 years in the making, and it started back in April last year. So far, we've only had 5 witnesses take to the stand. The 5th witness, of course, still under oath. That is one of those who was still in the house, or who was in the house rather, when this murder took place. That is Zandi Khumalo, sister to Kelly Khumalo. But at this point, I want to bring in legal expert Mr. Alton Hart from the UJ Law Clinic to unpack the implications of this particular trial starting all over again. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Mr. Hart. Let's just get straight into it. I mean, we're starting again. We're getting a new judge, and from what I understand, the legal term is starting the trial de novo. What does this mean in terms of the state's case? How do we expect them to proceed?
Now, obviously, if the trial starts de novo, which is a strong possibility at this point in time, is that it means that all the witnesses that has already testified will have to come and re-testify again. And that for the state's case can be detrimental, because now the defense team will have access to what the witnesses testified before under oath, plus their statement, and now they can cross-examine them and double cross-examine them literally on everything that they said, and then they need to now keep their heads and remember what they've testified in order not to now sort of have derailed the state's case. There is also a slight possibility that the judge might come in and say, listen, yeah, I will work on the notes of Judge Maumela. He has made some credibility findings. I can see it from his previous notes, and I will work on that. But then the accused can now raise the point that say that might be prejudicial, because he will not be able to actually work on that credibility finding because he did not observe the witnesses. So there is that thing. But the de novo, it will mean that the state is an uphill battle.
I mean, starting over means that the men who are on trial at the moment are going to also have to find ways to continue funding their legal costs and their legal fees. Does this prejudice those who are currently in the dock?
No, obviously it prejudices them, because it will mean that there's now going to be a longer trial running course, and obviously the lawyers representing them needs to be paid. And irrespective if they've had the witnesses and they have to re-examine them and cross-examine them again, they'll have to do it again, and then it will mean that it's money for the accused out of their pockets, and already being incarcerated, I think, for a period over 3 years. I don't think that they have money lying around, so that will be prejudicial. So that is all the things that will be weighed up to see if they start de novo. But I think if they don't start de novo, there might be a bigger prejudice to them in their constitutional rights being violated, and they have to most probably just bite the bullet here and say, listen, yeah, there's no money that can buy my freedom, so I'll have to come up with the money. But they have to do that balancing act now.
Lastly then, Mr. Hart, let's talk about that second docket. How do we see docket 37 out playing out in this particular trial in front of a new judge?
No, obviously, docket 375, it's on the table. There's statements that was taken. The docket is available. The defense has it. And obviously, any witness that will be called will be confronted with statements from both dockets. So the judge will have to consider it, because it's evidence. It's there. was taken by police. Although it is a second docket that was opened, it's evidence that's out there. It was made, statements that was made under oath that can be used, and then you can test the witnesses to say, listen, in this statement you said this under 636, and now you're saying under 375 something different. So they will most probably challenge them on these dockets, and obviously the judge cannot turn the blind eye to the later docket that was opened in 2019. He has to consider what is also being said there and what evidence is available, and obviously you call the witnesses to come and testify.
Quickly then, Mr. Hart, talk to me about the kind of pressure this new judge is going to be under. I mean, it seems we've already lost a year of this particular
Now, obviously,
trial.
if we talk about the pressures that comes with it, it's like there is a lot of pressure on the judge, because now it's a ticking time bomb that he's actually getting, because there's already a lot of pressure and eyes on this case so that he can actually finalize it within record time. And obviously people are looking at this case and say that if they delay it further, there might be problems.
Thank you so much for your time this morning. That is legal expert Mr. Alton Hart, just giving us some legal analysis ahead of court proceedings, which of course we are expecting to start at around 10 a.m. this morning. It's still unclear whether we will be seeing the Meyiwa family coming to court this time around. We know that during the last sitting they were quite emotional, they were quite frustrated with the fact that there are still very much many countless delays in this trial, and of course that means that they still are seeking justice for their brother. In my last conversation with one of the Meyiwa sisters, it did seem as though that the family was quite disheartened at the fact that this trial was going to start all over again. But of course we will be bringing you those visuals live as soon as court proceedings begin here on DSTV channel 403. It's back to you in studio.
Now, Slee, thank you very much. And Silindelo Masikane, it's another delay in justice in this trial. This murder taking place way back in 2014. So it's been a very, very long time. We'll go back to Slee again and our team a little bit later.